Have you ever noticed how one toxic person can completely drain your energy, ruin your mood, and turn an ordinary day into an emotional battlefield? Maybe it's that coworker who constantly undermines you, the family member who never misses a chance to criticize, or that friend who somehow always makes everything about themselves. You know the type. They leave you feeling exhausted, questioning yourself, and wondering why you even bother engaging with them at all. But here's the thing that might surprise you. The ancient Stoics dealt with the exact same people over 2,000 years ago, and they figured out something remarkable. They discovered that toxic people don't actually have the power to upset us. We give them that power. And more importantly, they showed us exactly how to take that power back. Today, we're going to explore the Stoic approach to dealing with difficult, draining, and downright toxic people. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll have a completely different perspective on these interactions. You'll learn why trying to change toxic people is a waste of your energy, how to protect your peace without becoming cold or bitter, and most importantly, how to use these challenging relationships as opportunities to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The Stoics weren't just philosophers sitting in ivory towers. Marcus Aurelius was literally the emperor of Rome, dealing with betrayal, incompetence, and manipulation on a daily basis. Epictetus was a slave who endured unimaginable treatment before gaining his freedom. These weren't people theorizing about difficulty. They were living it. And what they learned can transform how you navigate every toxic relationship in your life. Let me start with the most important Stoic principle when it comes to toxic people, and it's going to sound simple, but it's incredibly profound. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Think about what he's really saying here. When someone is rude to you, when they insult you, when they try to manipulate you or bring you down, the actual event is just someone saying words or taking actions. That's it. The suffering, the anger, the hurt feelings, those come from how we interpret and respond to those actions. This doesn't mean the toxic behavior is okay. It doesn't mean you should accept mistreatment. What it means is that you're not a helpless victim to other people's behavior. You have a choice in how you respond. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how the same comment that devastates you on a bad day might barely register on a good day? Or how someone's rudeness might bother you intensely when you're stressed, but when you're feeling confident and centered, you can just brush it off? That's proof that the external event isn't actually what's controlling your emotional state. Your interpretation and response is what makes the difference. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you truly internalize this principle, toxic people lose their power over you. Not because you've become cold or uncaring, but because you've recognized where your true power lies. It lies in your response, in your choices, in your ability to maintain your inner peace regardless of external chaos. Now, let's talk about why toxic people behave the way they do, because understanding this will fundamentally change how you relate to them. The Stoics believed that all people are trying to pursue what they believe is good, but they're often confused about what's actually good. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." This is such a compassionate way of looking at difficult people. He's not excusing their behavior, but he's recognizing that people who hurt others are themselves confused and suffering. Think about the toxic people in your life. The person who constantly puts others down is usually deeply insecure. The manipulator is often terrified of losing control. The person who plays the victim is frequently someone who feels genuinely powerless in their life. The chronic complainer often doesn't know any other way to connect with people or get attention. Understanding this doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse or mistreatment, but it does mean you don't have to take their behavior personally. As Seneca wrote, "A person's worth is no greater than the worth of their ambitions." Toxic people are operating from a limited perspective, pursuing things that they think will make them happy or safe or important. But they're going about it in ways that actually create more suffering for themselves and others. When you see toxic behavior through this lens, it becomes less about you and more about their own internal struggle. You can maintain boundaries and protect yourself without carrying anger or resentment. You can respond to their actions without absorbing their energy. This brings us to one of the most practical Stoic techniques for dealing with difficult people, and it's called negative visualization. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius would literally prepare himself for encountering difficult people. He would remind himself that he would meet people who were annoying, ungrateful, and challenging, and he would mentally rehearse how he wanted to respond. This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. When you mentally prepare for challenges, you're not caught off guard by them. You've already decided how you want to show up. Try this tomorrow morning. Before you start your day, think about the toxic people you might encounter. Maybe it's that difficult boss, that critical family member, or that passive-aggressive friend. Instead of hoping they'll be different today, accept that they'll probably be exactly who they are. Then decide who you want to be in response. Do you want to be patient, boundaried, calm, indifferent? When you've already made this decision, their behavior doesn't throw you off balance. You're responding from a place of intention rather than reaction. Seneca also talked about this preparation. He said, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." But he wasn't saying don't think about the future at all. He was saying don't let anxiety about the future rob you of your present peace. There's a huge difference between anxious worry and practical preparation. Worrying is repeatedly imagining negative outcomes while feeling helpless. Preparation is thinking through possibilities and deciding how you'll handle them. When you prepare for toxic interactions, you're taking back your power. You're deciding in advance that this person's behavior won't determine your emotional state. Now let's talk about something that might be uncomfortable, but is absolutely essential. Setting boundaries with toxic people. The Stoics were big on this, even though they approached it differently than we might expect. Epictetus said, "If you don't wish to be a hot-tempered person, don't feed the habit." Try as a first step to remain calm and count the days you haven't been angry. I used to be angry every day. Now every other day, then every third or fourth day, and if you manage to pass 30 days, offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to God. Notice what he's doing here. He's not saying you have to accept being around people who make you angry. He's taking responsibility for his own emotional state and working to change his habitual responses. But implicit in this is also the idea that you might need to remove yourself from situations that trigger these responses. The Stoic approach to boundaries is actually quite clear. You have an obligation to protect your ability to live virtuously. If someone is consistently preventing you from being the person you want to be, if their presence makes it impossible for you to maintain your peace and practice wisdom and self-control, then creating distance is not only acceptable, it's necessary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This means you extend understanding and compassion to others, recognizing their confusion and struggles, but you don't compromise your own principles or well-being in the process. Sometimes being strict with yourself means being strict about what you allow into your life. It means saying no to interactions that are toxic. It means limiting contact with people who consistently disrespect you. It means walking away from conversations that are going nowhere productive. Here's what this looks like in practice. You don't have to announce to the toxic person that you're setting boundaries. You don't have to explain yourself or justify your decisions. You simply make different choices. You stop engaging in circular arguments. You stop trying to make them understand your perspective. You stop hoping they'll change. You accept them exactly as they are, and then you decide how much of your time and energy you're willing to give them. As Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. You cannot control whether a toxic person changes. You cannot control whether they respect you, understand you, or treat you well. But you absolutely can control how much access they have to you. You can control whether you engage with their drama. You can control whether you allow their opinions to affect your self-worth. Let me share something that might be the most liberating Stoic insight about toxic people. You don't owe anyone a relationship. Not even family. Not even people who were once important to you. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." The process is a mutual one. People learn as they teach. Notice what he's saying. Relationships should be mutually beneficial. They should involve growth. If a relationship is consistently one-sided, consistently draining, consistently toxic, you're under no obligation to maintain it. The Stoics valued relationships highly, but they understood that not all relationships are worth preserving. Sometimes the most self-respecting thing you can do is to walk away. Now I want to address something that might be coming up for you. You might be thinking, this sounds like the Stoics are telling me to be cold or detached or uncaring. Actually, it's the opposite. The Stoics were deeply concerned with treating others well and acting with kindness and justice. But they understood that you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be kind and patient and generous if you're constantly being drained by toxic interactions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean tolerating abuse. It doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being for someone who won't even meet you halfway. Being a good person means treating others with respect, while also respecting yourself. It means being kind without being weak. It means being compassionate without being a victim. Let's talk about a specific type of toxic person that the Stoics dealt with constantly: people who insult or criticize you. Epictetus had brilliant advice about this. He said, "If someone criticizes you, agree at once. Mention that if they knew you better, they would have more to criticize." At first, this seems like weird advice. Why would you agree with someone who's insulting you? But think about what happens when you do this. When someone insults you and you get defensive, you're giving their words power. You're showing that they hit a nerve, that you care what they think, that they've succeeded in upsetting you. But when someone insults you and you simply agree or shrug it off, you've completely deflated their attack. There's nowhere for them to go. You've refused to play the game. This doesn't mean you internalize their criticism as truth. It means you don't give their opinion more weight than it deserves. If someone says you're stupid and you know you're intelligent, why would you argue with them? Their wrong opinion doesn't change reality. If someone says you're a terrible person, and you know you're doing your best to live with integrity, why would you need to convince them otherwise? Their misperception is their problem, not yours. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about how true this is. We know ourselves better than anyone else knows us. We know our intentions, our efforts, our growth. Yet we let other people's superficial judgments affect us more than our own deep self-knowledge. The Stoic solution is to value your own opinion of yourself above all others. Not in an arrogant way, but in a grounded way. You become the authority on your own character and worth. Here's a practical exercise based on Stoic principles. The next time someone criticizes you or treats you poorly, pause before responding. Ask yourself these questions. Is this criticism coming from someone whose opinion I genuinely value and respect? Is there any truth in what they're saying that I can learn from? If I respond defensively or angrily, will that serve me or just satisfy my ego in the moment? What response would my best self give? These questions create space between stimulus and response. They put you back in control. Most toxic behavior thrives on immediate emotional reaction. When you refuse to give that reaction, you've already won. You've maintained your power and your peace. Seneca wrote something that's incredibly relevant here. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. He understood that when we're provoked, our first instinct is often to lash out, to defend ourselves, to attack back. But this immediate reaction is usually not our wisest response. When you delay, when you give yourself time to think and choose your response rather than just reacting, you make better decisions. You say things you won't regret later. You act from wisdom rather than wounded ego. In practice, this might mean taking a deep breath before responding. It might mean saying, "I need to think about that," and walking away. It might mean counting to 10 or excusing yourself to the bathroom, or simply changing the subject. Whatever creates that pause, that space where you can choose rather than just react. Let's talk about a particularly challenging type of toxic person, the one who's in your life in a way you can't easily change. Maybe it's a coworker you have to interact with daily. Maybe it's a family member you see at every gathering. Maybe it's your ex-partner with whom you share custody of children. The Stoics had a powerful reframe for these situations. Instead of seeing these people as obstacles to your happiness, see them as opportunities to practice virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is one of the most famous Stoic principles, and it applies perfectly to toxic people. That difficult coworker is giving you the opportunity to practice patience. That critical family member is giving you the chance to practice not seeking external validation. That manipulative ex is providing you with opportunities to practice clear boundaries and emotional regulation. When you see toxic people as teachers rather than tormentors, everything changes. You're no longer a victim of their behavior. You're a student learning important life skills. Every time they try to provoke you and you remain calm, you've gotten stronger. Every time they try to manipulate you and you hold your boundary, you've grown. Every time they try to upset you and you maintain your peace, you've won. Epictetus, who endured slavery and enormous hardship, understood this completely. He said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Toxic people reveal your weak spots, your triggers, your areas of growth. If you can learn to handle the most difficult people with grace and wisdom, imagine how easy the rest of life becomes." Here's another Stoic principle that's transformative when dealing with toxic people. Focus on your own improvement, not on changing them. Seneca wrote, "How much better to pursue a straight course and eventually reach that destination where the things that are pleasant are the things that are honorable." What he's saying is that the goal isn't to fix other people or make them see the error of their ways. The goal is to become the kind of person who isn't disturbed by external events, who lives according to their own values regardless of how others behave. This is so freeing because trying to change someone else is exhausting and usually futile. People change when they're ready to change, not when you want them to or when you explain to them why they should. But you can always work on yourself. You can always improve your responses, strengthen your boundaries, deepen your wisdom, increase your patience. Think about how much energy you've wasted trying to make toxic people understand you, trying to get them to treat you better, trying to explain why their behavior is hurtful. Now imagine redirecting all that energy into your own growth and development. What could you accomplish? How much peace could you cultivate? The Stoics believe that the only thing truly in your control is your own mind and choices. Everything else, including other people's behavior, is ultimately outside your control. This isn't a depressing limitation, it's an empowering truth. It means you can stop trying to control the uncontrollable and focus your energy where it will actually make a difference: on yourself. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully when he wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Think about this in terms of toxic people. Yes, their behavior is annoying, hurtful, frustrating, but how much worse do you make it by ruminating about it, by venting about it to everyone you know, by letting it ruin your mood for hours or days, by responding in ways that create more drama and conflict? The toxic person's behavior might be a small stone thrown into your pond, but your reaction determines whether that's a tiny ripple or a tsunami. The Stoics teach us to keep perspective. In the grand scheme of your life, how important is this person's opinion or this interaction really? A year from now, will it matter? 5 years from now? On your deathbed, will you regret not arguing back with that rude person? Or will you regret wasting emotional energy on people who didn't deserve it, instead of focusing on what truly mattered? Let me share one more powerful Stoic practice for dealing with toxic people: the view from above. Marcus Aurelius used to imagine himself looking down at the earth from high above, seeing the vast expanse of humanity, the constant motion of life, the endless cycle of events. From that perspective, individual slights and conflicts seem tiny and insignificant. He wrote, "Constantly picture the whole of existence of which you are the most minute part." This isn't about making yourself feel small or unimportant. It's about maintaining perspective. When someone is rude to you in traffic, imagine zooming out and seeing the millions of cars on roads everywhere, the billions of human interactions happening simultaneously. When someone criticizes you at work, imagine all the workplaces in the world, all the conversations happening, all the conflicts and resolutions occurring every moment. Your situation is not unique. Difficult people are everywhere, dealing with each other constantly. This is just part of the human experience. From this perspective, you can ask yourself, do I want to spend my limited time and energy on this conflict? Is this worth disturbing my peace? The answer is usually no. The Stoics understood that life is short, and we have a limited amount of attention and energy. Every moment spent being upset about toxic people is a moment you could have spent on something meaningful, something that aligns with your values, something that brings genuine fulfillment. As Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How many times have you replayed a toxic interaction in your mind, imagining what you should have said, getting angry all over again? That person is living rent-free in your head and they probably don't even know it or care. The Stoic solution is to notice when you're doing this and consciously redirect your attention. When you catch yourself ruminating, say to yourself, "This is not worth my mental energy," and deliberately think about something else. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final Stoic insight that ties everything together. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The key to dealing with toxic people is to maintain a learning mindset. Every difficult interaction is data. It's showing you something about yourself, about human nature, about your areas for growth. When you approach toxic people with curiosity rather than judgment, when you see them as teachers rather than enemies, everything shifts. You're no longer at their mercy. You're using their behavior to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. The ancient Stoics lived in a world that was in many ways more challenging than ours, dealing with war, slavery, disease, political intrigue, and betrayal. Yet they maintained inner peace and lived with integrity. They did this not by avoiding difficult people or changing their circumstances, but by changing themselves. They took full responsibility for their own minds and responses. They focused on what was in their control and let go of what wasn't. They saw challenges as opportunities and adversity as a teacher. You can do the same. The next time you encounter a toxic person, remember that they don't have power over you unless you give it to them. Remember that their behavior says more about them than about you. Remember that you have a choice in how you respond. Remember that this is an opportunity to practice patience, boundaries, wisdom, and self-control. The Stoics discovered something profound. External events, including other people's behavior, are neutral. We assign them meaning through our interpretation and response. When you change your interpretation and response, you change your experience. You can be surrounded by difficult people and still maintain your peace. You can deal with toxic behavior without becoming toxic yourself. You can protect yourself without building walls. You can be strong without being hard. This is the Stoic way, and it's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Start practicing these principles today with the very next toxic person you encounter and watch how your life transforms. You've got this.